Attack is a PC math game first released in 2006 by Big Brainz Studios. The goal of Timez Attack is to help teachers teach kids multiplication facts by crafting a genuinely engaging experience for kids to learn in. This isn't another glorified PowerPoint slide with a fairy tale character lazily slapped in the corner so you can tell your students they're playing a video game when you get bored of teaching and just want to text Jared from yoga. Timez Attack is a real game with detailed environments, bosses, and platforming, designed by real game developers who have worked on the likes of Twisted Metal, Back Online, and other early PS2 games. So at least your students will be learning and entertained when Jared says he's just not really looking for a relationship right now.
Just not feeling it, dude.
The free demo of Timez Attack can be downloaded by any email-holding citizen and will give players access to 2 different worlds where they can explore and learn the facts. Purchases can be made of a standard home edition where access is granted to 6 new worlds, as well as retention levels used as a tool to reinforce memorization and mitigate fact loss. Schools can pay and apply for licensed editions which have multiple accounts for students and teachers. Teachers' accounts have special backdoor privileges like usage and report data, which give educators information as to what students need extra help and how the class is doing as a whole. Timez Attack ended up being a success. With millions of users in over 200 different countries, the game could allegedly help students memorize their facts 6 times faster than standard methods. The average 3rd grader takes 30 hours to memorize all their multiplication tables. With Timez Attack, that process is cut down to just 5 hours. You may be wondering how I figured that out, and it's because on top of the multiplication edition released in 2006, in 2011, Big Brainz would release its Division Edition and Addition plus Subtraction editions the following year. This all sums up to a fantastic purchase and a lifelong tool that you and your students will cherish for the rest of your life. You can scoop up this perfect bundle of a game right now for $5.99.99. You too can pick up this perfect bundle of game for $69 dick balls Lamau. You too can play this perfect bundle of a game today for the low price of $60. The Steam page in the description. But actually, you can't. Timez Attack never had a Steam page. The game could be purchased through their parent company Big Brainz official website. Big Brainz is an educational development team created in 2004. Almost immediately after their creation, they would get to work on Timez Attack, with their logo even being intertwined with the game's main character, Scratch. With Big Brainz' mission statement being, quote,
"Make a game so entertaining that every child wants to play it. Second, make it so rigorous that every child walks away with total mastery of the given subject."
The team definitely delivered on their statement, but Timez Attack, finding great success as a newcomer with a small development team, made it a very appetizing acquisition for any more established sharks in the education industry. And on January 15th, 2016, someone took a bite. Imagine Learning is an educational development team created in 2004. Imagine Learning scooped up Big Brainz in 2016, giving it more funding and reach than they could before. The CEO of Big Brainz saying, quote, "While we did accomplish a lot on a smaller scale, being part of Imagine Learning now allows us to bring critical math components to even more kids." Big Brainz could now run ads and complete studies that helped bolster their reputation and prove to schools that they were legit. Things look good for the two companies, but the product of Imagine Learning x Big Brainz is a curious conjecture, as the following March, home editions of the game would go off sale, leaving only purchases made before that point and free version downloads available on the website. 2 years later, Timez Attack would be officially taken offline, with their website being replaced with a redirect to the Imagine Learning fact page.
Like, it's not easy, like I said. The World Deck is not easy. I challenge anyone in the crowd, go home, get the game, it's free. You can download it off the StevenAndolf page. It's a demo that was released a long time ago of a game that they no longer support and never released. Luckily, the demo plays just as well as a full game. And we do have a safe download link up on the StevenAndolf page. Because, it's funny enough, the reason I mentioned a safe download link is because the game company that made this game, Big Brainz, no longer called Big Brainz, they're now called Imagine Learning. They like to pretend this game doesn't exist. They are not proud of it for some reason, some strange reason. So, they don't post the download link on their website anymore, sadly.
This is where my journey to find the game would start. The page has very little information other than a login screen with various sign-in options. No trace of Big Brainz is left. The Find Student Info login seemed like it could be promising, because if I had played the game as a kid, my account may have been ported over to this website. After remembering my old student ID, I quickly found the website only had about half the schools in my old district, and even if it did, I had my doubts that the website was actually even connected to anything. After trying to find multiple other different downloads, and probably installing malware on my Mac, I started browsing YouTube for any old Let's Plays or guides that could tell me how to install the game. This is when I stumbled upon an old devlog/startup video that seemed to be a re-upload from the creators of the game. These videos, while insightful to how some of the game mechanics worked, for example, Timez Attack has an AI that keeps track of the questions players are struggling with, and it'll purposely repeat those questions until they get comfortable with them and can get them every time. Overall, these videos were a dead end, as they were made in the pre-Imagine Learning years of the game. One thing of note was at the end of the video with the support, they had numbers and emails listed of how to contact the company. I didn't bother calling them as I didn't think it would get anywhere, but it piqued my interest because the area code on the first of the number was 801, which happened to be a Utah area code. I knew this because I had played the game in Utah, and learning this fact, I wondered if the game had a more local impact than I thought. The fact that the company was based in Utah also gave me another keyword to add to my Google search. Big Brainz Utah yielded a lot of business websites which disclosed information like where their offices were located, how many people were employed, and also who the current CEO was, the same name that the YouTube channel was under. Ben Harisson graduated from Timpview High School, where he would then go to college at BYU Provo and start his first company, Argonaut GC, where they worked on many different PS2 games, and he even directed a movie called Guardian Oath starring Michael Dorn from the Star Trek series. In 2002, Ben would leave Argonaut GC, and sometime in 2004, eventually start Big Brainz. Of course, we know what happens next, and in 2016, he sells the company. Even after he sold the company, he can be seen in promotional materials still working with Imagine Learning.
Right up front, within figures out exactly what they need to learn. And then as they master them, it'll keep track of all of that and always be working on the optimal blend of learning a new fact versus developing long-term retention of the old facts. If they're automatized already on a fact, we move on.
It works as a video game. It's not a flashcard. It's a video game, it's a story. They're engaged in the story. And it repeats and repeats and repeats until that particular math fact is mastered.
It's extremely visual and
ugly. He's like my cousin, bro.
So no matter what language they speak, they're able to come in and reap all the benefits of the program instantly. That gives them a huge amount of confidence to tackle all the other language challenges that are holding them up. I'm asking what their favorite classes are, and they're telling me their favorite subject is math. They're loving math because they're fluent starting in 3rd grade. They're gonna be really successful all the way through high school and college, and they're going to be prepared for those STEM jobs.
Yeah, I'm a real benefit to society. A year after selling the company, he would leave Imagine Learning Big Brainz and start yet another company called EdTech Games, which from promotional material looks like the successor to Big Brainz projects, just not under the Timez Attack IP. Now this was very confusing to me. Why would Ben leave Big Brainz and Imagine Learning only to start a new company which essentially does the same thing? I reached out to Harisson in an attempt to get more information about the game and his story, but I never got a reply back. In hindsight, it's probably a good thing he never responded, because I was going to try and Nardwar him with all the weird facts I know about him, and it probably would have just freaked him out. Let me pull it up. I can tell you all his grade point averages in high school, every house he's lived in post high school, but I don't want to dox the guy. Also, it's super weird that I know that. I'll show you the old Argonaut GC offices though. They're really close to the stadium at BYU. I think that's what it had listed on one website. He swam for the BYU swim team, and his events were the 50 and 100 free. And funny enough, those are my events, so I was gonna if I was to interview him, I'd try and ask him what his PBs were. I'd just tell him mine and be like, oh, you swim, that's cool. Also, this is the crazy one. I have a friend whose dad also swam at BYU during the same time. So if I could interview him, I would have been like, oh, so do you know...
Redacted.
And then he'd be like, what? How do you know that? I don't know. It might have been cool, but also probably just weird. Anyway, back to my question. Why would Ben leave Imagine Learning only to start a new company, which is essentially just Big Brainz 2? Now, looking on reviews that people have posted online about working with Imagine Learning, it seems like it wasn't the greatest environment to work in. Now, I know these aren't the most reliable sources, but some of the reoccurring complaints are disorganization, lack of vision, And that's it. That's the whole list. With this information, let me give you my interpretation of what I think happened. Big Brainz is a big success. They're then approached by Imagine Learning. I'm going to call them IL. IL has better ties to the education world and could probably extend the reach of Big Brainz. They also probably offer them a bit of money. So of course the team takes it because it sounds like a great deal. But with all the Timez Attack expansions already being completed, Timez Attack team would probably want to work on something like the next project, maybe a sequel, Timez Attack 2. But the higher ups at Imagine Learning don't greenlight the project, probably because they don't have the organization and it takes too much resources to make. When it's easier to make low-budget games that are easier to sell to schools because they don't look like video games and they're just easier to produce. The type of games Big Brainz was founded to be above and wanted to get rid of. Alternatively, IL could have never had any intention of using Big Brainz and could have just bought them to kill out another competitor, as they were both operating in the same Utah education space. Either way, in 2017, Ben has enough of all the indecisive corporate bureaucracy of the whole thing, so he leaves and starts EdTech Games. Only now he doesn't have any of his old IPs like Timez Attack or most of his old employees, so he's left to scramble together a team from scratch. But he doesn't even get scratch! In present day, Ben Harisson still works at EdTech Games with an estimated 3 total employees. It's of note that after leaving Imagine Learning, 1 year after, the game is no longer available. This leads me to believe that Ben or his team was the only ones keeping the game alive, and after they left, IL couldn't be bothered to maintain a simple website that would have generated them passive income. Of course, this is all just a theory, and I could be way off the mark. I never ended up finding the game. It's been listed as Lost Media on the Lost Media wiki. And there's one guy on a speedrunning forum that has a demo available for download, but the full version may be lost forever. I downloaded and played the demo and it brought back a lot of memories. Okay, last time I recorded something like this, there was like obnoxious slamming the whole time, so I've moved to a slam-proof desk. While writing this, I'm remembering I haven't mentioned my personal connection yet, but this game meant a lot to me and was probably my first experience with PC gaming. So I remember recess would get out and I'd be just like so excited because I knew that was when we had computer lab with Mr. Hunter, and then he'd just slap this game in front of us and we'd grind out our facts for 40 minutes while he texted Jared from yoga. And I remember the girl next to me, like, so there's a pre-test and that determines how many levels you do and like where you get to skip in the game. So she did good. So she got to go to the cool jungle level with all like the platforming and the boulders and shiz. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, this game's sick. But then I bombed the test and I had to go to this stupid dungeon level with the trolls. And then so there was my 3rd grade class was going to have a pizza party if everybody could memorize all their facts 1 through 12. And I remember when I took the test for that pizza party, it was a written test and it would be like, oh, what's 4 times 5? And then I'd know 20, but I'd only know it because like the muscle memory of my fingers on the keyboard. So I'd be like, oh, ring finger, middle finger, that would be 20, and then I'd write that down on the paper. I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm saying, but that's how I did literally every single question. And we got the pizza, man. We ate it.
Do you like Timez Attack?
Absolutely.
Were you happy when you beat it?
Yes.
Why do you need to play Timez Attack?
So I know my facts and we can have a pizza party.
Quality education games are a rare breed, largely because I don't think anybody cares about the student's experience while they play them. AAA titles often struggle to find the flow state between entertainment and challenging, but Timez Attack managed to do it while also teaching math. I may be squinting through my nostalgia goggles a little bit, and the game wasn't like all that impressive when I played the demo, but the game made effort. It had love put into it, and it had a cohesive story of an alien getting thrown into a dungeon and then he makes it out. It had heart in a market where the competition is mostly glorified digital textbooks. And where there's a super obscure but loved game, there will always be those that want to do it fast. Bonus content. It's an extra, baby. It wasn't intended. Welcome to a brief world record progression of Timez Attack speedruns. Earliest record on speedrun.com is held by Pressed Ink. The run isn't the most innovative thing in the world, he just types the answers fast and takes good care not to get any wrong. Every run of Timez Attack starts with a pre-test, which consists of 66 facts excluding reciprocals, which are intended to gauge how many times tables the player still needs to memorize. The pre-test will slowly ramp up in difficulty, starting with the multiplication facts of the 2s, then moving to 3s and 4s, all the way up to 12. After your 12s are completed, the game will display your results and calculate roughly how many more levels the player will need to go through to memorize all the facts. Players that perform poorly on the pre-test will be given a larger workload to complete in the levels as they have more facts to memorize. After all the memorization levels have been complete, the player moves on to the post-test. The post-test is the same 66 questions as the pre-test, but is designed to gather data on how much the player has improved. But what if someone was able to score 100% on the pre-test? Because the game's only goal is to help you memorize facts, if you can demonstrate you already know all your times tables, the game will immediately skip you to the post-test, skipping all the long memory levels in between. Patricia Inc. figured out this same thing, and on February 8th, 2017, he got this run. He answered all the questions on the pre-test correct, letting him skip to the post-test where he did it all over again, resulting in a time of 11:37, perfect question run. This run would be short-lived, however, as Pajama John would break the record only 1 week later by a whole 2 minutes, with an ending time of 9 minutes 13 seconds. Pajama John did this by running through the pre-test like normal, but once he started on the post-test, he purposely started answering questions incorrect because it was faster to spam numbers and get the questions wrong than actually complete the test. Whether this strategy is the result of a rule change or genuine innovation is unknown to me, but every run after this point will use this technique. 12 days later, Theobus would shave 11 seconds off the run with slightly better movement and faster inputs. It would be 9 months until the run was challenged again, with one man deciding enough was enough, and it was time to take back his throne. Patricia Inc. would return with a beautiful run which saved 30 seconds off the previous, putting the new record at 8 minutes 32 seconds. One small change that saved a bit of time was spamming 0 in the post-test instead of random numbers, as it was less keystrokes overall.
Like, people like streamers who are really like smart and philosophical and like can say really deep, profound stuff. Luckily that's not me, huh? Ah! Yeah! Ha! Ha! Eat dirt and die, Timez Attack. This TV's never getting beaten. Ever.
Petre would go on to prove himself wrong 2 more times the following year, breaking the 8-minute mark with a 7 minute 46 seconds in August of 2018. With 3 back-to-back world records, it was a daunting task for any new runner to beat. Eventually, in April of 2019, Moondog was able to squeeze 1 more second out, with slightly faster inputs overall, putting it down to a 7 minute 45. The record would then lay dormant for about another year until March of 2020, Mushy got a 7 minute 35. His video verification is also pretty adorable. I think he just convinced a bunch of his friends to like do runs with him. So there's like 5 guys on a call and then he casually gets the world record. And finally, the run will be lowered 2 more times down to the current world record. In March of 2020, Tulu got a 6 minute 55 seconds, breaking the 7 minute barrier. This run is insane and almost all the keystrokes are as fast as possible. He also has 2 really clean bridge jumps at the start, and at the very end he jumps on the wing of the ship to drop in slightly faster. Also throughout the run, whenever he's picking up the question boxes, he's moving diagonally. I don't know the exact reason for this, but if I had to guess, it's because you probably move faster when you're going diagonally, or the hitbox, the corner is sticking out when you move diagonally, so you pick up the question faster. Alright, in editing, I want to clear up some of the things I got wrong in the video. 1, the guy's name is Petrus, not Patrice, or whatever I said, Petrus. And the very first run I show in the video, his record, it says that he's racing against a guy named Pajama Warrior John. Now, could this be a distant relative of Pajama John? Is this a whole new entity? We don't know, but the run is gone. I could not find it. Also, in between his 3 world record stint, Petrus has a video which shows he's competing against a runner named A-List. Now, I could not find any run of this type from A-List. He is a known Super Monkey Ball speedrunner. Also, little tidbit, Petrus is also a Monkey Ball speedrunner, but I could not find his run. So maybe it could be on a different website. There could be more runs I have missed. I would just like to get that out of the way, and I'm sorry if I've let you down.
5.